So tiring. We have all our cords plugged in.
I'm looking. I am so PTSD from last week's show. I can't even tell you. So, okay. So those of you who are Great Northern Sex Cast listeners, so the first thing that happened last week is somebody basically disabled the studio last week, and our whole show.
I mean, it looked like we were recording.
I know it did.
Yeah. But you know, we were just having our own little personal party over here, obviously.
And then, nothing. So then we come back to do it. Colleen hits her head as she's walking out the door.
Yeah. I go down the stairs because, like I was telling Kelly, I'm at home to meet with a repair person. Mm-hmm. I'm about to leave the house. I see the lights on downstairs. I give my daughter shit for leaving the lights on when she leaves the house. So I go downstairs. I'm not even racing. I'm just going down the stairs. And I missed the last step. And I hit hard. And then I smack my head on the sofa. And I'm sitting there. And I'm a little dizzy. And then I sit for like 5 minutes. And I'm still dizzy. And I'm thinking, you know what one shouldn't do after one hits their head and is dizzy? Is get in a car.
And drive.
So I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
So then I get here, and then Perry and I do the show again. And we talked about a couple different things. We talked about National Coming Out Day because it was actually that day.
Yeah.
And, you know, Perry was married twice to women, and now he's living his life as a gay man and, you know, whatever. So, okay, we do the show. I go to upload the show. I swear to God, the whole thing was cursed last week. I go to upload the show, and there was a problem with our online broadcast console that not only houses all of our shows here at the Alive and Social Network, but it distributes it to iTunes and iHeart and all of that different thing. It said that it couldn't upload anything. So Perry leaves. I'm sitting here going, really? You know, and so I call and they're like, well, that shouldn't be happening. I'm like, none of this should happen. Like nothing. So they're like, okay, we'll work on it. So we were late getting that posted. So I'm just like, I'm really hoping that everything is just.
I know. I'm like, you know, I'm like,
and I was
right.
And I was getting hate mail, by the way. For the first time ever, I'm getting hate mail. Where's the show? And I'm like, people, get off my case. You have no idea. Because I had to wait for codes to come in to and do it remotely. It was just like, I like last week's show just would not die. It would not just.
Well, actually, I think it wouldn't resuscitate it.
Yeah, there's that. That's really more accurate. That's really more accurate. God, it was just.
At one point, as I'm like lying on the floor, I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And then I get the email later. I said, oh, we're having a look. I said, oh, that's just, you know, we had like, I was joking, this was like the cherry on the cake of my day. So that would have been like the sprinkles.
Yeah. Oh my God. And when I discovered that, my blood I ran cold through my body. And the last thing I wanted to do was text you and tell you, hey, that great show we just did, yeah, it's gone. And so that was exciting. But anyways, so yeah, here we are. And there is a lot of stuff now with regard, there's just so many things. Well, Halloween's around the corner. Mm-hmm. And you know, the first thing that I saw this morning when I got up, and I have to admit, I was like, whoa, Clint Eastwood's son, Scott. Have you ever seen him? He looks
probably.
A lot like his dad.
Yeah.
A little darker, but a lot like a very young Clint Eastwood. Now, mind you, Clint Eastwood was at his sex prime when, like, you and I were little kids. I mean, like, so he's still a handsome dude. I mean, I get that or whatever, but I wasn't around. But when they showed his son dressed up as Clint Eastwood
like High Noon with the
the good, the bad, the ugly, the what poncho?
I think it's a poncho.
Then he had the skinny cigarette and whatever, and his son is just freaking gorgeous.
To use the modern term now, to cosplay your own dad.
Yeah. He did. And it was so funny. But first of all, he was gorgeous, you know, but to see him, you know, and there was another point on that that I was going to make that just completely escaped my head. I can't remember where I was going to go, but yeah. So it was, but yeah.
Well, actually, I mean, looking at it, I mean, I think that everyone can appreciate a good-looking human without demeaning them.
Oh, yeah.
I see good-looking women and I see good-looking men, and I go, hey, those are good-looking people. That's how I've been socialized, and that works for me.
Yeah.
You know, I've never felt the need to like catcall anyone, but you know, I mean, I can appreciate, you know, there is a line, folks. And, you know, that's one of the things that has been all over the news. Like, where's the line?
Where's the line? Well, one, I remembered my trivia point. When I told you he had this skinny cigarette, just like Clint. Do you know why Clint Eastwood used those little cigarillo things in the movies?
Because he hated smoking?
Well, they wanted him to do cigars, and he's like, no. And that was the compromise.
Oh, okay.
So that's okay. I just thought that was an interesting trivia point.
Well, you know, you can get Cuban cigars now.
I know. I heard that just the other day.
I wonder if my grandpa was a cigar smoker.
Was he?
And so I go past, and I don't know what type it was. And one of these days when I walk past like a really old dude with a cigar, I'm going to go, what? And it smells right? I'm going to go, what is that?
Like what your grandpa smoked?
Excuse me. It smells like, I go, oh, grandpa. And the cheese peanut butter crackers. That's what
God.
We go down to the corner bar. And he would bring us, grandchildren, because we didn't need to visit often. And he would show us off, and they would give us cheese peanut butter crackers.
Perfect. I remember those. Well, speaking of where's the line to admire good-looking people, it's funny. I will, if I see somebody, and it doesn't, usually women, I won't do this to guys because that's weird. But if I see a woman that's like dressed up really cute and I think she looks really nice, I'll just walk straight up to her, a stranger, and say, you look really nice. I really love your outfit or something. And I've done that twice lately, and I have never had a bad result with it.
No,
ever.
No. I've done it to other women.
Yeah.
But twice it's really funny. One time I was able to go up to a woman and go, love your handbag, because I happened to be having the same handbag. So it was very entertaining.
Yep.
But it was like, and then another time I was at Cassetta's, and a woman comes up to me and goes, I love your dress. And I glance, I look over, she's wearing the same Lands' End dress.
Oh, that's funny.
But there's been other times too. And, because you wonder, they must sell like thousands of these. How do you have,
not run into each other more?
More often.
That's funny.
But no, it's difficult because I don't know if guys, we haven't been socialized. I mean, when my friends look good, I will, let's say we're at a friend's wedding or we're at just a gathering, and, one of my, and I've got a lot of guy friends, and they're looking really good. I said, oh God, your wife is lucky tonight. Or your husband is lucky, whoever it is. I'll go, whoa, but we're really close, but I've never done it to a
stranger guy.
Yeah. I've walked up to someone I don't know, female.
Yeah.
But
and see, that feels okay to me. Like I remember a couple of weeks ago, we were at, that cute, the Juicy Lucy place on Cedar. Matt's. We went there for lunch, and this couple came in, and I want to say older, but I mean, when I'm their age, which is pushing 70, I would guess, but they looked amazing. They both just looked so freaking hip. I can't even, but what she was wearing down to her shooties. I mean, and I did before we left, I went over and I'm like, I just have to tell you just look so chic, and I just love what you're wearing. Just, a flutter, kind of funny. So we'll get into some inappropriate conversations here soon. I just thought it was hilarious to see Clint Eastwood's son Scott dressed up as his dad and looking oh so bodacious. But wow, so there's these costumes every year, like last year, and I'm surprised they're not as prominent. Last year it was all the Trump costumes and Hillary. We talked about that a lot. Yeah. Not as many this year. No. This year's it's all this other really weird shit that I thought was amusing.
Like the fact that Target pulled their clown mask. Did you see that?
Yes.
I mean, I know people that are actually, I won't name names because I don't need to go through there. They're actually, they're terrified of clowns, and they've never liked them, and this does not help. And then I have friends that are, in fact, professional clowns. In fact, I have a friend who no longer recently does his act just in a tuxedo.
Oh, really?
Because wearing the makeup is going to freak out people.
That's so funny.
And I'm like, you've got to be so a bunch of assholes out there ruining it for people who are professionals. Yeah. It just drives me insane.
Yeah, it's well, the clown stuff. There are clown costumes in this year's batch, but I loved the headline on this. Great costumes for when dignity is overrated. Okay, now there's a few in here. Let's just get the first part out on the table. Why does Halloween say women should be slutty? Like, when did that happen? Like,
I have to admit, I have profited off of this. But
sure.
To some extent, it was going through there. But there are certain ingrained social fantasies. Okay, so I can, so people do, fantasize about nurses, teachers, and cops and stuff like that. Certain things there. A lot of times it has to do with authority figures or something like that, and they've, sexualized them. But I don't understand, like, sexy pizza.
Right.
You see, pizza's just pizza. Pizza is delicious.
If you're really hungry, though, Colleen.
Yes. But pizza, so I don't understand why every single, like, sexy monster. I'm sorry. Monster's not sexy. Monster.
Well,
okay. So.
Well, wait till you see the skeleton costume. It's like, first of all, the bod for that you need is like, are you kidding me? But they even have a sexy, creepy clown. You got to just see the pictures. Megan's going to post these.
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I won't be a hypocrite. I know that I have profited off of some of these at times.
She disclaims.
But I have to admit, even then, when we get something, I'm like, oh, why is this sexy? And then I want to also know who fits into this, because at one point I'm looking at the size of these things and I'm like, no, I mean, this is toddler sized.
Yeah.
And now I don't do a lot of costumes anymore because all the pop-up stores have just ruined that. I mean, I sold it for like $10 to $30 less. But if you can go to the same place and get your kid's costume and your costume at the same time, the pop-up stores has killed the industry, and the fact that they would, sell them at, they'll sell them to Spencer's, can buy more than I can.
Yeah.
Spencer's are the ones that own the Spirit Halloween stores.
Sure.
So, I'm just like, okay, I don't have to sit in the money. I can spend more on accessories and a few things that make more sense.
Sure.
But oh my God, some of the stuff, and I'm like, I don't understand.
Well, the sexy Scooby Doo is so sick and wrong. I can't even tell you. I mean,
they're already wearing shorty little skirts. What did they do? Like a little bra top and
it's a lot of skin, but I'm sorry. At the end of the day, sexualizing Scooby Doo is just, first of all, Scooby's a guy. Okay, let's just be honest. He's a male Great Dane. So to put a bikini model in a Scooby thing, it's wrong. Okay, so that was funny. But there's one, and some of these though are freaking funny. Okay, there's one that's a Trump wall costume. So basically picture just, a full body suit that looks like bricks. And then it says Mexico will pay. I mean, it's kind of funny. I mean, whoever thought that up. But then there's a toilet. So it's like a suit, but it's a stuffed toilet that's on the front, almost sticking out like a belly. Only it's funny. Like I would wear that. That is a funny.
Okay, sexy toilet?
No, just a toilet. Oh, okay. Just a person in a toilet suit.
No, that's
it's
good.
funny.
I was just trying to figure out how sexy toilet could be. I don't.
Well, then there's a guy in this kind of a tree suit with a squirrel kind of on the shoulder, and then there's like nuts want to see my nuts. I mean, that one's preposterous.
I always liked the one night stand where people would just put dress in like brown and then stick like a condom on them and like a bottle of water and a thing of tissues and a clock.
A nightstand.
Yeah.
There's a Bro White. So it's a Snow White costume for a guy, and the model in the picture is grabbing his junk in a Snow White dress. That one's pretty funny. And then there's the Mohawk wig typically worn by extras in bad 1980s action comedy costume. That's pretty funny. So we'll put these pictures up for you. But did you see, I think you said you did not watch the second debate?
No.
Okay.
No.
Have you heard about Ken Bone?
Yes.
Okay. Have you seen Ken Bone?
I have seen him. He looks like every man.
Izod has sold out of all the sweaters because everybody wants to be Ken Bone for Halloween.
So that was a red. That was not red.
It was a red Izod zip-up sweater because he split the pants to the suit that he wanted to wear and told that story the next day, which makes him even more lovable. But they've come out with several different versions, since you can't buy the Izod sweater out there, of the undecided voter costume. Those are pretty good too. So we got links to all these.
I think I did see end up flipping through like a sexy Ken Bone costume with a little crop top sweater.
It's a little bit of an oxymoron.
Yeah.
A little bit.
He's just average guy.
Seems like a nice guy.
Yeah.
Nice enough.
Through there, but I was just, that ran across the social media feed several times.
Oh God. And then there's of course the sexy undecided voter costume, which is what you just said.
Yep.
So yeah, those are out there. We'll post those because they are kind of funny. But I mean, just check out the Scooby Doo's. The man in the bathtub costume is funny. Like literally he's standing there and it's an inflatable bathtub around him. It looks like it's got water in it. I mean, there's some really cute, you can't drive in it, but it's cute.
Yeah, I love Halloween. I have made 144 plus, because I lost count somewhere in there, treat bags to hand out, because last year I had about 80 made and they were done in like 45 minutes.
Oh my God.
I've got booze for the grown-ups. It's great.
Do you do the little airplane bottles?
No, that's a little, I'm cheap. So
okay.
I buy the little Jell-O shots with the lids and I fill them up with Baileys.
Perfect. Okay, we get the airplane bottles because my boyfriend's in the biz, and God, the parents are. My favorite was the mom with the 3 screaming kids, and I pulled out the bowl of the airplane bottles, and she had her Diet Coke, and she grabbed a rum and poured that in there right then and there, and gave me the empty to throw away. I'm like, she's like, I love you so much right now.
Yeah. Last year it was like, really? I said, yeah. I had a choice between Bailey's and I got the Godiva chocolate liqueur too.
Yum.
But excuse me, I don't know. I wasn't all coffee before I got here. It's very weird. But I realized it was like 8 out of 10 people were taking the Bailey's, so I'm just going for the Bailey's.
Bailey's this year. Yeah, that's a pretty popular one. So we don't have naked Florida stories. We've got one. Well, we got a couple good ones out of Florida, though. Okay, so a dumb criminal. She went to rob a bank. Girl went to rob a bank. Okay. This girl goes to rob a bank. Sounds like a bad joke in a bar.
Yeah.
She tells her dad to drive her and says, "Can you drive me to my job interview?" So her father unwittingly drives her. She goes in, presents a note that says, give me all of your, here it is. You have exactly 1 minute to give me all your $50 and $100 bills from both your drawers or I will shoot you. No dye packs, no alarms, follow these instructions and no one will get hurt. Act normal. She made out with $300 and, she came back out and,
sorry, 300?
I know, right?
Okay.
$300. Yeah. And basically, she was wanted in connection with 4 other recent robberies that dad did not drive her to.
Okay, I was about to say, how many job interviews, quote unquote, did she have or not?
5, apparently, according to the Broward County authorities. She's in jail right now. But yeah, can you imagine dragging your poor dad? I'm sure that it doesn't say that he's facing anything, but he was an unwitting accomplice. What a dink. What a dink.
He's got to feel bad. And I don't, obviously very poor choices. But there was just a podcast I was listening to once, just last week, about someone who was absolutely, no one would have guessed that he was a burglar, but he had a gambling problem.
Oh, yeah.
And so he just had to figure out how to pay for it, how to, how to pay his rent, how to do this. And then he did one burglary and then another one and then another one. And I'm listening to this and the guy could have been describing anything, but he was describing burglaries and then, just getting help and all this and getting through it. And I just, it's not, I don't think most people, randomly decide, you know what, I'm really bored, I'm going to go rob a bank. There's you just whatever horrible circumstances are behind that. It's just
for many, many years, Carl, my boyfriend, worked as a financial advisor for a large bank. And so he officed in a bank and he would tell how many times they'd get, how many robberies he was on premise that occurred. And, they never disclose the amounts because they don't want people to think it's profitable.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you never really hear, but this one, for some reason, they mentioned that, I think maybe because it was so abysmal.
Yeah. They wanted to make a point that it's not worth it.
Yeah. In other dumbass news, Ryan Lochte, I'm sorry, but that guy just bugs me. I mean, he's just such a nitwit that I had to mention this. He was doing an interview for New York Magazine. He's trying to the extent that he has the mental capacity, try to do some reputation repair after his horrible, behavior at the Olympics. And he's lost a lot of sponsors. He's starting to get some back. He's doing Dancing with the Stars. So they're sitting down to go do this interview. And his publicist kind of showed up and said, yeah, work's kind of slow. It's Yom Kippur. And Ryan Lochte literally looked at his publicist and said, well, what's that? Okay. It's the Jewish Day of Atonement. Well, wasn't there Thanksgiving 2 days ago? The reporter's recording this, of course, which is why I have the transcript right here. And they said, no, that was Canadian Thanksgiving. Oh, okay. Well, whatever. I mean, he doesn't even know what Yom Kippur is. And he manages to not even know to shut up when there's a New York Magazine reporter who will love to throw him under the bus.
I understand. I mean, okay. You would think that someone, what is he, in his 20s? 30s? 30s, okay. That you would know this. But at least, but he doesn't even have humility to say or to fake it and go, okay, no, my brain is, I'm having a brain fart here right now. Which holiday is that? You know, just to fake it.
Right.
Because there's, I'm sure, okay, there is obviously so much more in this world that I don't know that I know. Okay, I'm just going to say that,
okay, that's fair.
But if it's something that you can infer from the way that someone's saying so casually that you should know, fake it.
Right.
And say, oh my God, brain fart. Just,
No, and he laughed it off. He's like, oh, okay. I mean, most of my Jewish friends are pretty okay with the fact if you can ask about a custom, because I don't know a ton about it. I just know which holidays are a big deal, and I'll ask I'll even ask my Muslim friends, tell me about Ramadan, like what really goes on, and they love to tell you.
Yeah, and I'll ask, how do you pronounce that? Because it's sort of like traveling to Arizona, having no idea how to pronounce the indigenous American names. They're like, folks here can't pronounce,
especially if there's a lot of X's.
Yeah, I get that. Or Mexico, and I'll ask very carefully I want to know how to say a place name right. I want to know how to say your name right. My daughter has a lot of friends of a lot of different ethnicities, and I said, my ear is not trained for this. Can you say that again? And they know I want to get it right.
Yeah.
And it's going through there.
Yeah. Plus, I love kind of picking up little things like that. I find that stuff kind of interesting. In other celebrity news, Ryan Lochte, I think, is sort of a dubious celebrity, but Elizabeth Hurley. Okay, she's 51 years old and just they released of herself some bikini selfies. Holy mother of God. That woman looks like the body of a 16-year-old. I mean, rar, holy crap, it's not fair. She looks amazing.
She's still modeling and acting, so she probably doesn't have a 9-to-5 job, right?
Yeah.
Which means you can, in fact, work out as your 9-to-5 job.
Yeah,
Plus, there's genetics. But it is sort of, it'd be really nice if someone would before they put the selfie on, it says, the fact that I can work out for a living is great.
Yeah.
Not post the picture like any human being can look this way. I mean, I'm flipping through a catalog yesterday, and I noticed the Photoshop. Nobody has thighs that are shaped that way. And I'm like, don't pretend. And what is it? You guys, I don't know. Anyone that's probably over the age of 30 probably knows what a soft surroundings catalog is. And this is supposed to be for folks that are not teenagers. And they're still photoshopping thighs with about a 6-inch gap. And I am not kidding. And I'm like, how does that help anyone?
Yeah. I think Elizabeth Hurley, I mean, if you look it up, and we'll post the link too of it. I mean, she is so amazing looking. She doesn't look like a typical workout bod kind of. She looks like genetically gifted. Mm-hmm. And you know who else is that way? Is Sarah Jessica Parker. She does. I know that these people do maintain their fitness. She's
a dancer. I noticed that she does dance workout and stuff like that. And the dance bodies are stunning.
Yeah, but she's also got a lot of help from the old DNA. Okay, I'm just saying. And I think Elizabeth Hurley kind of strikes me, but check out these pictures. It's like, wow. I mean, it can either make you really hopeful or really depressed.
Let's go with the hopeful.
Let's go with hopeful.
I think her point is that I'm 51. This is me. And I mean, she might look good, but she certainly doesn't look like she did when she was 20. I mean, there's got to be a little bit, or does she? I mean, really that... She
looks pretty fucking good. I mean, from her face to everything. I mean, I've always found her to be extraordinarily beautiful. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think she's great. I was so disappointed when she and Hugh Grant didn't make it. I thought they were just the ultimate cute couple. And she's gone through so many billionaires since then and has kids with I don't know how many. And that's the other thing. She's got kids and she still looks like that. It's like ridiculous.
Well, my sister manages to have 4 kids and look absolutely stunning. I don't know if she believes it, but I think she's stunning.
Very cool.
Oh my God.
Really?
I just got just a couple extra inches in the legs to give all the proportion. I was like, oh, you got the legs. I got the boobs, but she got the legs.
Oh, that shit is so weird.
You just look at family and it's like, oh my God. And I joke. I said, you just like, well, who got what? This seems to come down from this family. What do you got from there? It just, families are, they're fun sometimes.
Oh, for sure. Mm-hmm. So the elephant in the room right now could be the mascot of the Republican Party for Donald Trump and some of the stuff that's going on. There's a story out of, again, Florida. I need to visit there more often because, a lot of fun stuff happens down there. So this gal named Emily Robinson heard the now infamous grab her by the pussy comments, and she got a mailer, like the same day, from the Republican presidential nominee's campaign asking for donations. Mm-hmm. So Ms. Emily Robinson chopped off some pubic hair and sent a note back instead of a donation in lieu of, "Dear Mr. Trump, I'm not able to mail you my actual pussy, so I've included the next best thing. Cheers, Emily." This was her protest. and political commentary on that, which I have to admit, it's kind of funny.
I do like that take back, sort of like when the folks, the women in Indiana were hashtagging their periods for Pence and sending, when there's a lot of stuff he passed in Indiana that's pretty anti-female, and so women were calling an email and asking for gynecological advice because obviously the governor must know best.
Yeah,
and
sure.
So that was, but the one thing I liked is I think it was PETA or Humane Society or something actually put out an online thing. We'll have to look it up about grabbing pussies, and it's about adopting cats.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
I just went for it, and I was
use it for good, not evil. Mm-hmm. It's weird. There was a Mad Men episode. Did you ever watch that series?
I got rid of cable towards the end of it, but I never got into it. I mean,
didn't you?
Yeah.
I enjoyed it the first time around because the absolute. I think they captured the era. I mean, the styling of the show was amazing. The sets, the props, the clothes, everything was like to the T. So the first round was just kind of almost like watching history. The second time I went to watch it, I started going, wow, these guys are really assholes. You know what I mean? The first time I was so dazzled by just the whole thing, but the second time I really became offended by a lot of what I was seeing. But that said, there's a scene where the main character, Donald Draper, corners a woman that he has an affair with later, but he reaches up her skirt, and it's a shocking scene in a swanky restaurant, reaches up her skirt and grabs her by the pussy and threatens her. And it's a long story. If you've seen the series, everybody knows it's the comedian's wife, what I'm talking about. But I remember being appalled but that would happen. But he did. He reaches right up her skirt. And, I'm thinking, wow, did shit like that actually go on? I mean, because this was like the early 60s.
Yeah. I mean, it goes on today. I mean, much less going on. 40 years ago or 50 years ago. I mean, it just intimidation and it hasn't ended. There's been a lot of, I know that I have a lot of friends that are very scared about the future, and I'm thinking, this stuff is not new. It's just out in the open because it's been given permission to be out in the open now, in my opinion.
And everybody has video phones.
But the thing, there's that. But the thing is I see, I know my kid and I know my friend's kids, and they are amazing people. And so maybe I'm, Pollyanna or, really optimistic, but these are amazing kids. It just will not put up with this crap. Mm-hmm. And so we might, fuck things up a little bit, but I don't think it's anything that any other generation hasn't screwed up that the other generation hasn't been able to figure out. But but it's not, it is appalling, in my opinion, that someone that has gotten to the point. Well, like I said, maybe sunshine is the best disinfectant. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's out there. Folks are they might as well wearing tattoos. I'm an idiot on my forehead. I'm a bigot. I'm a racist. If it's out there, you can call them on it. If you don't know what someone's thinking, you don't know where it's going.
Yeah, I mean it's a different time. It's so kind of in a little bit of a trifecta here. I've got some little tidbits that speak to the same subject regarding Billy Bush, Larry Flynt, and Howard Stern. And of course, Billy Bush basically just parted ways with NBC. And this is the guy that was on the hot mic tape with Trump and this was from back in 2005 when they were on a bus and both being really awful, the things that they said, which Trump has since apologized for, but that's
continued. Actually, Billy Bush actually apologized for it, and Trump did the if you're offended apology. So that's not an apology in my book.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But he is now, gone after a 15-year relationship with the network. So let's just set that one there for just a second. And then we've got Larry Flynt, who is offering $1 million for anyone who can produce proof of Donald Trump breaking the law or making lewd remarks, about women. And so it's $1 million. And he made a similar offer back in 1998 during the Monica Lewinsky President Clinton scandal, saying he'd pay $1 million for proof that other officials were doing similar things. So Larry Flynt throwing his hat.
Well, he puts his money,
in the ring.
Yeah.
Once again,
there's also a GoFundMe page for folks that will to pay any lawyer's fees for anyone that will accuse Trump, because there's a lot of paperwork
Yeah.
He's got
A lot.
Non-disclosure stuff.
Sure. And so then Howard Stern weighs in. Now, Stern is an admitted Democrat. And he's had Trump on. A couple interesting quotes from him. He said, I knew exactly what I was doing when I had him on. And here's a quote from him. He said he would do the show in an effort to be entertaining and have fun. And he said, I fully knew what I was doing. I knew that I had a guy who loved to talk about sex, who loved to evaluate women on scale of 1 to 10. And these are avenues that I went down because I knew it was entertaining. But then he goes on to say, to replay and pull those tapes out right now at this juncture would be a betrayal. That's Howard Stern's decision based on that particular thing. So, I mean, it's you got a mixed bag here.
Yeah, I mean, David Letterman said pretty much the same thing, but you can go back. He had Trump on his show a lot too because he knew what he was getting. A big, loud, noisy New Yorker, which was entertaining. Yeah, it's entertaining when he's not running for, in that context. But there, everything has a context.
Yeah,
it's the same thing. But he's because we're like, well, you said this is that. It's like, what is the context of it?
Yeah,
he's going through there. It's very important.
The Billy Bush thing, and I don't really know that much about him, but I can tell you something that's kind of interesting with regard to that. Him sitting in the back of a bus and trash talking with Donald Trump, and everybody can argue about whether or not they've ever heard that in a locker room. I've been in professional sports locker rooms because I was a sports reporter for a while. Trust me, I've heard some pretty nasty stuff, and I've heard a lot of stuff like that in the locker room, but whatever. But the thing that, reminds me of being the only woman on a sports station here in town, I can tell you that, the guys talked crap all day, all the time, and I had to decide if I was going to let it bother me or just do my job and whatever. But the one thing that they did do that I still won't ever forgive the two people involved, there were two guys, and I think this is way worse than saying something that they would probably never do or disparaging women. They used to give me the wrong information prior to going on the air to make me look bad.
Yeah, see, that's messing with their job, and it's and they're doing it because they don't want a woman there.
Yeah.
Okay, and and when you're talking, and the thing about Billy Bush is like I almost put him in the category of some of the other lesser females there because that's sort of the boss. I mean, Trump was a higher powered person.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, sure.
The power was not equal there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so to some extent, when things changes, he's, I don't know. I mean, it sounds like that Trump just runs roughshod over everyone and you don't get a shot. And if he would have said something, I mean, he could have walked off or this or that, or Billy Bush could have been fired then. I mean, there's probably been it happened 15 years later, but he put him in a really awful position because I was hearing notes that Billy Bush was bragging about this conversation, but you don't hear the context of that. Was he bragging that he has stuff on Trump? Was he bragging that he agreed with it? You don't know again.
No, you don't.
You don't know. But when you look at it 15 years ago, when he's just starting out, the power there is not equal.
Yeah. Well, and
a lot of times that's why a lot of this discussion when they're talking about male female, it's more power, not power. And there are plenty of men that get sucked into this too. There are plenty of men that are sexually harassed. And when you're talking about as a father, like no, everyone's a human, and you should treat all humans, well. Mm-hmm. You should not sexually harass women because they're someone could be their wife or daughter. It's because it's a human. You should not sexually harass a guy because that could be your son. It's a human.
Yeah.
And so it has a lot more to do, to my sense, with who holds the power than, and generally men hold more power. So it turns out that way. But there's a very good shot that, he's collateral damage.
Oh yeah. In this case it was, but I think guys, I've seen it, and I've talked to men that I know that say, sure, when they go on golf trips or hunting trips or whatever, they will admit to piling on and saying things that they wouldn't normally say all the time.
If they brag about actual assault. I mean, they might say, maybe they said they had more sex with someone than they did. And I've been around guys too. Or maybe they'll say, oh my God, those tits are hot. Or something like that. But but it's within a friend context and not once again, a power context. I mean, I've sat around with my girlfriends and we've talked about good looking guys and said, oh God, that would be nice. But, but it's not that. Once again, there's a difference in how, it's the context. It's not that he used the word pussy or this or that. He was describing assault. Mm-hmm. And talking about how, my God, I would absolutely love to bring, my neighbor is really gorgeous. I'd like to bang her. Hell, I got a good looking landlord. And I went, oh, he's hot. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't think about assaulting the man.
Yeah.
See, there's a difference.
But the question is, how seriously do you take conversation, and did it actually happen? Or was it, that's the thing. That's why I think it's just so dangerous to go, especially with things that are so old. I mean, and I'm talking more almost in the terms of Billy Bush. I just think it's really sad, and I'm not sure how big of a talent he is, but for him to be, out there without a job because of something that he said in an ill-advised conversation 11 years ago when he didn't know he was being recorded. I don't know.
But some of the stuff, folks are coming out and, you've got, the guy's bragging about assaulting people, and then people are saying, I've been assaulted. And then, at least, he's, and then, at least with the, like, for example, when we talked about Bill Cosby before, he's at least in, to some extent, I'm not sure, and it's going through there that certain crimes, because they affect a victim for so long, that there should be a statute of limitations. Because you don't know. The shame around, in Nigeria right now, they're negotiating the release of a bunch of the girls that were taken. Mm-hmm. Over several dozen of them are now being educated out of the country because the shame of sex before marriage, the shame of the rapes, the shame of all that is so bad that they can't even go back to their families. Yet they're the victims. And so there's one extreme, and the same thing here. Folks get crucified when they speak up. Nobody, no one believes them. They said, you must have dressed some way, or you must have said something. You must have let him on. It wasn't that bad. Oh, bullshit. I don't know anyone that hasn't had their ass grabbed on a bus or their boob accidentally, brushed while they were, walking down the sidewalk or in a busy mall. You just get grabbed. I have friends that have been sharing. Some of this stuff started when they were 9, 10, 11 years old. The first time someone said something to them. And there's very few women out there I know of that can honestly say that they have never been harassed or touched inappropriately. And it's very, very frustrating that it's, so all this is really bad, but it's getting out there. And I think there's going to be folks that are saying, no, you don't get to grab my ass on the bus. No, you don't get to catcall me when you're going down the street.
Yeah.
I get to say who touches my body.
Which, but I guess, I don't know. I just think that it's kind of hard to, there's actual assault, and I don't know. I just think the lines are so blurred sometimes with what's a big deal and what isn't. And, I've been around a lot of really awful talk, and in broadcasting, some of the people that are some of the biggest public defenders of civil rights and things like that, behind the scenes, I worked with these people, they were hypocrites, and they were awful, and they took advantage of the very things that they publicly speak out against. And so I don't know, everything's just I just don't even know who to believe anymore, because I've seen the other side of that. I've been in those broadcast environments, and I know what the executives, they completely turn their heads. They completely don't care.
Honestly, that's wrong. And it's now time for that shit to stop.
Yeah.
It just is. You do not treat other humans as less than. Whether it is in language or touch or verbs or like that. A human is a human. And it pisses, it is I am the mother of a daughter, and I am desperately trying to teach her that her body is her body. She doesn't want to hug grandma. She doesn't have to hug grandma.
Right.
Nobody touches her without her permission.
Yep.
It is not okay. And the same thing if I had a son. Nobody touches him.
Yeah. If he doesn't want to.
If he doesn't want to be touched.
Yep.
that your space is your space.
Yep.
And that's all there is to it.
Absolutely. And I just wonder if Gretchen Carlson, she was the one that sued Roger Ailes and got a settlement and left Fox News. And she's a Minnesotan, former Miss America, actually. I am very curious to see if she ever works again, because everybody there have been some women locally here in the Minnesota market, television and radio, that have sued for sexual harassment and won and never worked again.
Yeah, it is tough. And I feel it's like pioneers. Everyone's going to have to, the first women to do almost anything. I mean, the first woman to get their medical license, the first person, the first one to be a police officer, the first woman to be a firefighter. Right now, the first guy that wanted to be a nurse instead of a doctor.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just, it's that way. It's tough. They don't get treated as equal. And you do have to do a better job just to be treated as half as well. And it just is.
Yeah.
I mean, people, and just because folks don't see it in their life does not mean it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It means you have a pretty damn good life.
Yeah.
If you're not, and it has been fascinating watching folks that I know publicly say what has happened to them, or guys say, "Oh my God, I never listened to my wife before. I didn't understand," or to realize that they, have to tell their sons. I'm going to say it sort of bluntly, don't rape. You know what I mean?
That we have to say that out loud is amazing, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they realize that there's two sides to that. And the fact that that more men are saying that this is not acceptable behavior. I mean, there's a lovely picture that ran across social media of a group of high school guys, football players, baseball players, lacrosse players, soccer players, stuff like that, and they're all in their locker room, and they're wearing T-shirts that say "Wild Feminist." Because these are young kids, and and hopefully they will take what's out there and go, yeah, I don't want to treat people like that.
Yeah.
And and the thing is, I think, and it's also, and I think it will help other men too, because if you're using words like, oh, you can't lift that weight, you're a pussy, you're saying that you're female and the female's less than. It's less than, And so I've been trying to do it, because a lot of times I'll say stuff like, I'll stop dicking around, which means I'm like, wait a minute, if I use that language, I'm saying that guys are silly and stupid and stuff like that. Stop dicking around. So let's just stop messing around. It's just fine. To take the sexism, I mean, I managed, I'm probably sure I've done it myself.
But does that mean that your heart is dark and that you really mean that about men? Or is it just because it's a term that's out there that people use and you've said it and you've become so detached from the meaning? I mean, I think that there's something to be said for the fact that some of these things make their way into common parlance, and it doesn't mean that everybody who says certain things means ultimate harm. And I think there's a point where we've got to all kind of settle down a little bit too and just be realistic. I mean, and look at people's actions and their behavior in a context, not one little snippet,
Yeah. Well, I think I think his words and his actions actually go together.
I'm not defending him, but I am saying this in general. I mean, I've seen people do this with the race car, thing too.
Yeah, they don't. They don't realize that they may not realize what they've said is incorrect.
No, I've known people that have stepped in it so big, having absolutely no idea. They said anything. They had no idea, and I felt really bad for those people.
Folks won't let it go, and it's go like that. And there's at one point, when if someone has actually apologized. I know that there's bringing it back to costumes. I believe that there are several stores in Canada, I don't know about the U.S., where they're going to withdraw the sexy Indian squaw costume.
Well, that's been an issue for a long time.
That's been an issue for a long time. And I think when I was reading the, apology, it read as, this is wrong, we understand now, they're going away. Versus the, if you were offended. It's going through there. There's, and I'm like, okay, it took 3 decades, and it took them having a prime minister that's paying attention and, a couple of things. And it took, a lot of stuff, but those costumes and stuff like that, it's not, it's like saying that because my last name is Italian, that I'm either, a little Italian grandma running around with a wooden spoon all the time, or I'm, like a ditzy mafia broad. And you're just going through there. But at least with the mafia image, it's scary versus stupid or sexualized.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things out there. I mean, there's a lot of things that I stay away from just because I don't support it or agree with it or what have you. I mean, I think personally, I'd rather make up my mind about staying away from certain things that I think are objectionable. It's like, I think when especially the word squat, I mean, I did not know. And my mom's a good chunk of Native American, was a good chunk of Native American. I did not know that squaw was a derogatory term until it came out. It's like, wow, okay, now I do. That said, I would just choose to not support anything or buy anything or, maybe even shop at a place, whatever. I'm just not sure. And I don't have a huge, giant opinion on this. I'm just not really sure that I want everybody. I don't want what's appropriate totally dictated. I still want my free will and choice to say, you can be offensive and I can just be over here. I don't have to have somebody shut you down because I'm offended by you. You know what I mean? I don't want things to get so mind controlled that we're not allowed to, that our behavior is dictated. That does bother me.
Well, to some extent, that's what behavior is. I mean, you're allowed to be an asshole, but there are consequences for being an asshole.
Sure, but I'd like to choose to, to do, what I want rather than having, these edicts come down. And again, public pressure, people can choose to still be ignorant assholes, or you can, choose to, fit into the mainstream. I don't know. I think that sometimes that there's a fine line. And I think that how offended people get about something has to do with, quite honestly, whether or not that they agree, especially when it comes to politics, with whatever side of the aisle they're on. And I honestly think that there can be arguments made for both sides that there's been some deplorable things by both parties. And this is beyond anything that we've ever seen, what's going on this year. But I see the spin stuff, and some of this kind of scares me. It really does.
Yeah, it has changed, a bit, but not really. Because if you go back and look at stump speeches and ads 100 years ago, they're horrible. I mean, they are hilarious. I mean, you're just like, so it's easier to get around, and it's easier to take a snippet, and because we invented audio to get a soundbite.
Yeah.
Oh, but believe me, they were just as hideous 150 years ago.
They were. And I actually have a piece that was put out by one of the major financial houses, Colleen, something like Allianz or whatever. And it had one, and I think it was a campaign ad against Thomas Jefferson that talked about women would be raped in the streets if he was elected. It's like, who came up with that? Yeah. Are you kidding me? Yeah.
And we are a young punk country. And we're always going to be, there's a lot of growing pains. Things are changing. It's just, it's not any different than now we just know about it.
Yeah, no, that's true. And we get it documented. Okay, now tell me if this guy's doing something wrong, because this is not funny. It's so terrifying, but it's funny at the same time. So this guy in Texas, this kid's name is Jose Rivas. He disturbed a yellow jacket nest and sustained, I have to have an EpiPen, so this just freaks me out. He got 2 stings to his lip, his upper lip. Okay. So, and he's okay. Apparently he didn't get anaphylactic shock. Good. That's a good thing. But instead, he's like, whoa, I guess I saw the picture. Wait till you see the picture of this. So he took pictures and posted it and said, well, Kim Kardashian, do you have one on me? And he's putting this up, and he's taking all these duckbill pictures of his lips. And he says, here's looking at me for a few more days. Quite honestly, I can't handle it, but I had to have some fun because holy crap, it hurts. And he sent all these pictures up. Pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, I've never... that was something, I mean, it's been, quite a number of years now, and people are still doing it, but I do not understand the duck face. Where did this, how did anyone think that this made them attractive? I mean,
they still do it.
I know. It is fascinating. And yeah, when you think about all the, and, cause I don't know, it was one of them. I think actually it was more of a Jenner versus a Kardashian that did the whole lip thing or whatever that one time.
Oh, could have been, yeah.
Or whatever it is. And so I could see going through there, and I'm just, you said it was one on each side? So yeah,
it was a whole upper lip. We'll have the picture up.
So yeah, go through there. It sounds like a sort of painful way to get you.
Yeah, but I mean, he had to poke fun at. He used it to poke fun at Kim Kardashian. But holy balls. I can't even imagine. I don't know how the dude can eat. And like I said, it freaked me out. This is interesting. Britain, Coventry University.
Okay.
Chance to Change project. They're trying to do a safe sex campaign, and they are offering £400 for couples to get frisky on camera. And what they want to show is, they're basically doing amateur porn to show that you don't have to interrupt the flow of sex, that putting on a condom is not that a big deal. And these are real couples that they're using. What do you think of that?
Oh, that's spectacular.
They're cute really, kids, the ones I saw in the stills of it.
We had just, I noticed there were only just a few safe sex kits left over from Crypticon this weekend.
Oh, how'd that go?
There. We were on the 13th floor, which totally entertains me because it's appropriate. But remember, I don't know what it was, but everyone that's listening probably knows where the old Thunderbird used to be, and it was closed down. That's where it used to be. And it was a perfect hotel venue because it had a lot of convention space, but only a medium-sized amount of rooms, which is what they needed.
Okay.
And they had it at another hotel over by the airport, and they actually had people that, like pilots and airline flight attendants on the same floors as people partying.
Oh, God.
Then there was another Amazon thing going on. And it just, and I know, and I feel bad for the Crypticon organizers because they only found out like 3.5 months before the convention that like I said, I'll just call it the Thunderbird because it was going to be torn down, shut down.
Oh, okay.
And so it went well. We did raise $676 for the Minnesota AIDS Project.
Beautiful.
We're bringing that over. Folks just love the room. I mean, everyone was just like, have you been up to the sex room? No one will call it fantasy gifts.
But didn't you do Resurrection?
It was the Resurrection Cemetery, and they set the whole thing up. They had the FG Boneyard. They had a little pop-up store. Everyone had a blast. Everyone loved the room. But we didn't have the traffic because it was hidden up on the 13th floor.
Okay.
And, it's going through there. But in general... they had a few celebrities stop by, but most of them don't like to have their pictures taken in the sex room, and it was a lot of fun.
Do we have pictures at all?
We have pictures on the FG site of the room.
Okay,
it's going through there.
We should throw one up on the Sexcast page.
So Megan, take a look at that. Oh, poor girl's got such a bad cold. Right now.
Does she?
Oh my God, she's so stuffy. And but it went well, and we were truly excited to raise that much money for the Minnesota AIDS Project.
Very good.
And there was one point though when we're decorating the box because everything the theme was a cemetery, and suddenly I went, wait a minute, this could be bad. So we made the donation box really pleasant when everything else was really bad.
Oh, that's funny.
Because I'm trying to got to think about this.
That is...
it was like a buck a spin, but people were just shoving money in the damn thing and spinning.
That's a lot of spins.
To get a spin and stuff like that, yeah.
Very cool. Mm-hmm. Well, you guys, the good thing about you, even if you were Fantasy Gifts was hidden on the 13th floor, word travels fast about that. Mm-hmm. So...
Oh, yeah. Liz was down having her husband was having a cigarette because I'll have a cigarette when he's having a couple drinks and stuff like that. And people like, were you up in the sex room? Yeah, it was great. You got to go up in the sex room.
Liz is like, yeah, I set it up.
She's like, and it was really, and it's a wonderful community, and they really liked it. Whenever we'd post something on their site, this or that, they share it a lot. And they had a blast. The employees had a blast. They built a beautiful, beautiful set. It was just wonderful. And I'm really hoping I was just sorting through all the stuff, and I'm like, they do all this work, and then a lot of the stuff was made out of cardboard. Now it's in the recycling. I mean, just weeks and weeks of work, and then they use it. They have a good time, and you go through there.
Well, that's good.
And then the fun part's going to be finding out a few more things from Tara, who's there, because she did a lot of the stuff, but she immediately had to leave and go to Vermont because one of her distributors is having the big show. So she's out there looking at new stuff right now, and I can't imagine how exhausted she is.
Oh, I bet. It cracks me up that there's a major industry show in Vermont. That is so odd to me.
Well, no, what it is that the company East Coast News is who we get a lot of our stuff through, and they will fly everybody in and give everybody a discount if they meet with all the vendors and do all this sort of stuff and show everything off. And they figured if they were flying everyone in, why not? Go to someplace fun. So they've been down to Florida. They've been down, one year they actually flew everyone to Hawaii. They've been to somewhere in California. I mean, they've got to ship everything someplace anyway. So this is the second year they've done it in this resort in Vermont.
Oh, okay.
And it's sort of in between seasons. It's a little bit towards the end of leaf change, but the but it hasn't snowed yet for skiing.
Okay.
And it's just gorgeous.
Okay.
And so Tara and AJ went. And I don't think there'll be I don't think Pipe Dream will have brought their 8-foot penis this time.
Oh, that's too bad.
But we'll see what else might happen. So I'm looking forward to hearing what's going on from there. From that.
Yeah.
Because it's always a hoot, and that's where she just sees stuff first.
Yeah.
You can take a look at it. They don't fly everybody in.
Well, and Tara's got a good discernment, so it'll be interesting to see what makes the cut. In wrapping up today, a couple things. Last week we had this article that was just, I had to mention it because it said, hey, if you're relying on sex for exercise, just, don't do it, which was kind of depressing because that was an excuse that a lot of people that I know use. Hey, honey, it's exercise. Come on. But there's two back-to-back stories here. One, okay, this is weird. This rubs up against, I think there's a fetish involved here. There's a story about a woman, and she's out of Nevada, morbidly obese. She was at her highest weight, 714 pounds. And she had just split up from her former boyfriend, who was what's referred to as a feeder.
Yes, I've heard this. Yes.
Yeah. And she actually had gotten herself into the mindset where she wanted to become the fattest woman in the world. Like that was her goal. And it fed into his fantasy or whatever. Okay. So they break up. And then all of a sudden, she met a younger guy. She's like 52 and she started dating this guy who's 38. And he is helping her turn it around. She's lost over 100 pounds already. And she attributes it to her adventurous new sex life with her boyfriend, which kind of interesting. I'm glad that she turned a corner because that wasn't healthy for her, the weight part of it. But I think it's just weird that her whole thing was tied into sex. Have you heard much about this?
No. I mean, maybe all I keep thinking is when someone's losing that much weight, how much she's going to pay, because they don't pay for the skin surgery.
Yeah.
I was going through there. I mean, that, I'm like, if you're 700 and some pounds, you lose 100 pounds, you're 650, possibly you don't have flappy skin, but if she drops another, 500 pounds.
Yeah. I
mean, but she can't actually drop 500 pounds because there's probably about 100 pounds of skin. I know.
It's kind of, yeah, they do. Actually, I'm sorry. She's already lost 266 pounds. So 700, that's almost half her weight right there. That's a lot. Well,
I am over, if you look at scales, I'm grossly overweight. It's going through there. And, if sex is going to be her impetus to lose weight because she's having so much fun, go for it.
Oh yeah, whatever helps
going through there
to keep her alive.
But I don't think that. But if someone, obviously this person loves her as she is.
Yeah.
So to work together and stuff like that. Most folks I know are just thrilled. To see to have sex and to see their partner naked. If someone. I'd be much more concerned over someone who wasn't brushing their teeth to someone who gained 25 pounds. No, seriously.
That's funny you say that because Weight Watchers kind of went there and managed to piss off the entire Australian media. Check this out.
I want to know.
Okay, I know, right? They've got a new program called Weight Watchers Black, and it says helping you love sex. That's the tagline. So what they did was to promote this new program is they sent mood light bulbs out to all these journalists saying to help you see yourself in a new light. And the journalists did not see it for the provocative kind of fun way of a reason to get healthy and lose weight. They said, what, do you have to hate your body or, need sex to feel better about you? They just went bananas. And the article link, which Megan will put up, shows just these vicious tweets. They were so offended. Weight Watchers is like, backpedaling.
Yeah, must not have been thinking about that. It is fascinating sometimes that, you can get through an entire committee full of people and there's not, and I think it's because at one point everybody sort of knows what they're thinking and they lose track of what other people might think. Like, oh my God, how did we not think of that? Or if it, you get to a certain group and then someone really wants it and that person you don't say no to, I don't know. But it is fascinating when these when something gets just totally destroyed immediately, you're like, oh, that was bad.
Yeah.
Like, how do you not see it? But I suppose, I mean,
I can tell you. I have two things I can tell you. One, well, first of all, look at how many fucking awful movies get made. Do you know how many people had to sign off on some of the worst films in history? And you're thinking, for all the money and all the people that have to say, yes, that made it. Okay, so that's one great example. Yeah. But I can see if you've ever been in any kind of marketing or advertising thing, and you've got something that you try to promote, you can all, if you're creative people feed off of each other. And then when one person thinks it's a good idea, and if they can really sell that vision and then everybody else captures it, there is a sense, I've seen it happen, I've been involved in it, where you get so excited about that one thing, you forget to think of all the other ways that it can be viewed, because you drink the Kool-Aid, and marketing people get excited. It's like me. I am the most susceptible person to a great commercial that there is, because I'm a voice actor and I've been writing them and, forever. Because I'm like, oh, now that's fucking good stuff right there. I want to buy shit I don't even need because I'm so admiring that commercial. But I honestly, I think that's part of it.
Yeah, it is tough, and like as long as people just go, oops, that was bad, and yank it.
And they did, and they've backtracked and said, we meant this a whole different way, because they did pull out some data. I don't think that they were trying to do what people say, the non-apology or the doubling down or anything else, but what they did say is they did this in response to a survey that showed more than 25% of Australian women had said that their desire and enjoyment of sex was diminished because of poor body image. So they thought, okay, then let's, you know what I mean? I can see the train of thing, and they didn't mean it. And they're not they pulled it. They said they were sorry, but they're like, well, this is kind of what we were thinking. Yeah.
But we did not go across correctly.
No. So on that note, next week we'll talk about some of the fan encounters that porn stars have recounted. There's some pretty good ones. I found those. Those are evergreen. We can talk about that next week. And there's a whole bunch of stuff coming out this time of year. Really coming, we got to get past Halloween, but there's already Christmas stuff. And sexual Christmas. That sounds like a band. Sexual chocolate, sexual Christmas.
Yeah, it is funny because once again, I won't be a hypocrite. I do make money off like erotic holiday themed lingerie. A lot of red, extra lace, some snowflakes.
That's cute, right?
A men's pouch with a wreath with a hole that goes through. A candy cane thing. I mean, a Santa hat for your dick.
Nice.
I'm not going to go through there, but it's, I see it as the marketing and the, oh God, what's the word I want? The,
merchandising,
the merchandising, the non-religious part of Christmas that the U.S. is
commercializing. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah. Or I always get secular and non-secular mixed up, but you know what I mean? Going through there, that there is the religious holiday, and that's fine for folks. And then there's the commercial holiday that has happened that I think is more about, it's about stuff, that's fine. But it's also the family aspect of it, the friend aspect of it, and the gathering aspect of it that can be separate from the religious aspect of it. And so I focus a little bit more on that. I mean, there are a lot of completely inappropriate, in my opinion, objects that I could have gotten years ago that they're religious based. And I'm like, no, I won't carry them. Okay. I do have lines.
That sort of make cross the religion line and stuff. Yeah.
I just don't. It's not, no. I mean, those are people's beliefs to some extent, and I'm not going there.
Yeah, that's fair.
No, it's just not appropriate.
No, that's cool.
And that's my line.
Well, it's going to dominate. It's going to dominate the conversation, coming up for months. Now that Crypticon's over, though, anything going on at Fantasy Gifts? Well,
it will be, like I said, we've got to get through Halloween, and then we'll get the stores will switch over to the more red lingerie and some of the holiday things. We don't go crazy about it because it's more winter decorating than Christmas decorating to some extent.
Yep.
And we've got most of the stuff down the stores, but I'll be curious to see what, like I said, well, next week I'll know what Tara found that we might be getting in, just in for the holidays.
Awesome. Well, good job. We've got a couple more weeks to go left in October, and then we're into the freaking turkey time, baby cakes. So
I love turkey dressing and stuffing. I know some people think it's, oh, my God. Okay.
So we'll be talking about it. We'll be stuffing some turkeys here on the Great Northern Sex Cast, Colleen. And hallelujah, we recorded.